All right. Good evening, and thank you for being a part of Schools for Children's third session of conversations about transition. Welcome back to those of you who have attended either or both of our earlier sessions. We appreciate your feedback on both and have incorporated it into tonight's Zoominar. Please be sure to fill out the evaluation at the end of this evening's Q&A. For those of you who are attending this series for the first time, my name is Elon Fifield, the moderator for this series. Denise Moorhead is our host, and Megan Visor is our ACE technical assistant. If you have any Zoom issues, please shoot Denise a message at info@schoolsforchildreninc.org or call her at 781-608-4608, and she and Megan will try to help resolve your issues. Making the transition from high school to a career is a huge step and can be challenging during any year. It is especially so during a pandemic. But some of our transition experts will speak to the issues and a range of others to help students, families, caregivers, guardians, and supporting professionals figure out how to help students continue their journey towards a successful career. But first, I want to introduce you to the Executive Director of Schools for Children, Mr. Paul Stein, and Alex Sonas, Director of Schools Seaport Academy. Paul?
Thank you, Elon. I think I want to start by just acknowledging, at least in the last week, I've been in a number of meetings where, frankly, it's been hard to be fully present, given what's going on in our country. Given how disturbing much of it is, and given how there's much musing, including my own, about how we can make a difference. So in that context, I just want to really just thank everybody for being present at this. This is an important topic, and to kind of step away from what's going on to talk about, I think, represents a commitment and an interest that I just want to appreciate. Now, for those of you who don't know about Schools for Children, our organization runs 5 school programs, 3 of which are for students with special needs. They're in the greater Boston area. They all combine a sense of rigorous academics, combined with support for our students' social emotional growth, each within a community that celebrates inclusion. Now, this approach encourages students to proactively discover what they want and need in life and how to create a blueprint for getting there. Its approach to teaching and learning is also why we're hosting conversations about transitions, specifically to support students with learning and social emotional differences. I want to just add, this is the last of 3 sessions, to particularly appreciate Elon, who's come on and agreed to kind of join us and lead us, and that's been a treat of sorts. So thank you, Elon, and so I won't have time to say it later, and just want to again thank you all for being here.
Is that my cue?
Thank you. Alex, did you want to add anything?
Sure. So we are one of the schools that Paul is talking about, one of the special needs school. We are Seaport Academy. So we are a special needs school who operate with 2 campuses. In 2 campuses, we have a campus in Admiral's Hill in Chelsea, and we have a campus in the Navy Yard in Charlestown. And we serve young men ages 13 to 22. Grades 8 through 12, and with social, emotional, and academic challenges. The services that we provide are, we provide academic services, we provide clinical services, we provide vocational, and we provide transitional. And the vocational and transitional are the big pieces as they apply to the webinar tonight. Because the idea is graduation is not the end game. It is a huge and important step. I certainly don't want to devalue that, but it is it is not the end game. And what it is preparing students for adult life. We do that through our vocational programming, and we do that through our transitional programming. Our vocational programming covers experiences like wood shop and bike shop and welding and blacksmithing and culinary arts and glass blowing. And so students are getting exposed to a lot of different trades and vocational opportunities. And our transitional program, as we're preparing students for adult life, include classwork. Things like how to write a resume, how to write a cover letter, to community service opportunities, work study opportunities, internships all over our area and in the students districts. And the key is what we're trying to do is we're trying to give students working experiences and real working knowledge and real working experience, and as they can prepare and what to expect for adult living. So with that, I bring it back to you, Elon.
Paul, Alex, thank you guys so much for that. Appreciate you guys. For those of you who don't know me, once again, my name is Elon. I am the program director of Qualls Academy. Qualls is an all-boys program in Cambridge Public Schools designed to help young men of color to achieve and recognize their overall potential in their personal, social, and their academic lives. Every day in my job, I get to see young men and women imagine their futures and take inspiration from that. Inspiration that affects them in the present and in the future. I know that the teachers and the staff at Schools for Children, they definitely get to see those things as well. But without further ado, tonight's panelists that we have are Eileen Brody Burke from Massachusetts Rehabilitation Committee. There you go. We have Zyvan Drake and Thomas Fisher representing the North Atlantic States Carpenters Training Fund. We have Jennifer Durham of Bridges from Schools to Work. And we also have Chris Hope, the CTS who co-founded the Loop Lab. Please remember, use the chat to pose any questions to our panelists. You can find the chat button at the bottom of the screen in the section titled More. All right, let's get started with our first question. Our first question will be posed to Jennifer. Jennifer, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Doing well. Thank you for joining us. So our question to you is, what can a student do while in high school to begin preparing for the transition to a career?
Hi, everyone. Again, I'm Jennifer. I'm with Bridges from School to Work. And we're a program that helps young adults with disabilities find jobs. And we are a national organization, but I wanted to talk a little bit about what we do in Boston to help students prepare for transition. So we start working with students as young as 14, and we provide a variety of transition services to them. So we try, I think it's great for them to start early in high school, thinking about their post-secondary plans and job exploration counseling. We also do self-advocacy skills and work readiness training. So we think the students really benefit from getting early exposure to careers and skill building. And then for students who are more motivated and really independent, it's helpful for them to gain work experience while they're still in school. So we'll help them with things like building a resume, applying for jobs, and interview preparation. And these are all really important skills that they can start working on while they're in high school. And then another large part of our job placement services is a big focus on job retention. So it's really important for young adults to learn early on what employer expectations are so that they can carry those skills into their careers and be successful long term. So we don't just help them get a job, we help them understand how to keep the job and what's going to be expected of them out of their manager. And so a lot of times when I meet a student or first meet a student, they don't really have an idea of what they want to become after high school. So it's really important to start thinking about those things early on, gaining exposure to different experiences, gaining work skills early in high school, so that they're more prepared once it comes time for transition. And another thing to think about is a lot of the students have a great support system while they're in school. Like they're surrounded by supportive teachers and counselors, social workers, but we try to get them ready and more independent. So those things are great, but once they leave high school, they don't have access to those anymore. So we try to hold them to a high standard and help them get ready for the expectations of an employer. So we try to treat their meetings with us like they are going to work. So this helps them understand how to be more independent, and that way they're more successful once they do leave high school. And if they're gaining these skills early on and gaining them throughout high school, then they're much more prepared for their transition into the world of work.
Amazing. Jennifer, thank you. Thank you so much. All right, this next question that we have is for Zyvan along with Thomas. All right, and the question is, from your work with the Carpenters Union Apprentice Program, what can an individual do to prepare for success in a multi-year program like yours? And what type of learners typically have the most success in your program?
Elon, thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Zivan Drake. I am a coordinator with the North Atlantic States Carpenters Training Fund. In answer to your question, I'm going to ask Megan to go to the slide, if you can. Excellent. So up on your screen, we have what we call our critical competencies here at the Carpenters Training Fund. We are a 4-year apprenticeship program dealing specifically in various aspects of carpentry, whether that be framing, metal stud, commercial, residential, pile driving, commercial diving, floor laying. We encompass all of those programs. What we have here are 4 of our what we call critical competencies. There are 15 total. We believe if anybody possesses any of these qualities, they are going to be a pretty good fit for our program. I've chosen these 4 as the most important. Conscientiousness being an individual shows that working is important to them. Being agreeable is crucial in these times. You're going to encounter many different types of people on job sites throughout your apprenticeship. Hopefully your 4-year apprenticeship turns into a fruitful, productive 30-year career with us as a carpenter. So you need to be able to get along with many different types of people. You also need to be physical in that the trades in carpentry are very physically demanding. You need to be able to haul things all day, every day. And then the fourth piece of that is the grit aspect of it. Can you perform that physicality for your 4-year apprenticeship and then again, hopefully for an entire 30-year career? You're gonna have bad days out there. You're gonna have bumps and bruises. You're gonna have disagreements, but can you show up every day with a smile on your face and get the job done? So that's a little bit about the qualities that we're looking for in an individual. How to prepare for our program. Megan, if you would like to go to the next slide. Perfect, great, thank you. How can you prepare? If you are interested in a career in carpentry and you don't have any experience, the best thing that you can do straight out of the gate is establish some type of work history. That will demonstrate to us that you have good habits. If you can maintain some type of employment that shows me that you are showing up on time, you take your job seriously, and most importantly, you're disciplined. As I mentioned in the previous slide, this is a very challenging work environment. If you can do it all day, every day, and establish that through a work history, that just shows that you're disciplined and you take this seriously. I would also recommend that anybody who is looking to join us as an apprentice, pace yourself. Again, this is a 4-year apprenticeship that's hopefully going to turn into a 30-year career. This is definitely not a sprint. This is a marathon. Again, you're going to have some bad days. If you can pick up every day and show up with a smile on your face, you're going to be all right. And again, just expect that you're going to be working with tons of different types of people. So the more you can become familiar with that and be comfortable in that, and be willing to accept other types of thoughts, other types of ways of doing things, you're going to be in good shape for success. And then finally, the types of learners that are successful with us, really, we welcome any type of learner. We recognize that a lot of people that join the trades join because they're not necessarily on the college path. They don't necessarily want to be sitting in a classroom. So we try to appeal to all the different types of adult learning styles out there, whether they be auditory, visual, or tactile. Again, certainly a lot of us end up in the shop because we like to use our hands. So we try to present material, both, you know, maybe in a digital form or a video, and then really do some good hands-on training in our shops. We don't spend much time in a classroom scenario in our apprenticeship training. We work off of a 90-10 model, meaning we're 90% in the shop and 10% in the classroom. Right now, given COVID, we are 100% in our shops, and that's one of the good things to come out of COVID. We've had really good success. And similarly, because of COVID, our class sizes, we've come down to very small class sizes, and we've had great success in being able to provide very close one-on-one training and instruction to our apprentices. So those are some good things that have come out of COVID. And then finally, we have what we call skill enhancement, which I'll also talk about a little bit later, which is essentially extra help. These are classes that are available outside of apprenticeship to journeymen, journey people, and apprentices alike, but they really allow you to sort of augment any training or fill in any gaps in your training that you feel like you might be missing. So we welcome anybody into our program. We don't care where you came from, as long as you want to contribute to the mission and build some really cool stuff. We are on board and psyched to have you with us.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you, Zivin.
Absolutely.
Thomas, did you have anything that you wanted to add?
Sure. So everyone, I'm sure, can understand why I hired Zivin about a year ago. What we're looking for, and I have spent, prior to taking this position, I spent 20 years as a high school teacher, vocational teacher, and worked with a lot of young people, some of whom have done very well in life and some of whom still struggle. You really have to have a sense of urgency in anything that you do, in any project that you work on. And you have to be willing to fit in whatever situation that you have. How do you get that experience? First speaker mentioned about getting work experience. There is nothing that can replace work experience. When we interview young people, and we interview hundreds of people ranging in age from 18 years old to 62 years old that want to join our apprenticeship program, from all different walks of life. People that have no background, no work experience, it's very difficult to be able to look at them and say, okay, there's a good chance that this person will succeed in our organization. It doesn't mean you have to have a construction background, but you have to show that you've worked with others, hopefully under challenging situations. How do you learn new skills? There's a chat up there about people who, I guess they want to be billionaires and everyone else is going to do the work for them. As an aside, most entrepreneurs who become millionaires and billionaires in this world actually come from an engineering background. I have over 170 people, pre-COVID, we're getting back there, but over 170 people that work for me. I speak with lawyers, I speak with accountants, I speak with carpenters. Zivin is by trade a diver, pile driver. You have to know a little bit about everything in order to judge whether or not someone's going to work out in your organization. So you as an individual coming into our organization or any organization, people are going to judge you. That's the reality. We're being judged right now. You're being judged. You're being interviewed every time you talk to an individual. We have information sessions. They're on Zoom. We're watching to see what sort of, as I say, sense of urgency does the individual have? Do they want to be part of our organization? Where's the desire? And when we see desire and we see an experience of that people have shown that they've worked in situations where they've had to learn a new skill, could be bagging groceries, could be loading a truck, could be doing anything that they've had to learn something new, and they can explain the process that they went through to go from not knowing something to knowing something. We can really get a really good sense as to whether or not we're going to be able to teach them the trade of carpentry. And you know, basically likability in this world. If people like you, and this is a reality, if they like you, they will work with you. They will go out of their way to help you. If being able to take constructive criticism is difficult for many, it's difficult for many in this generation. I experienced that as a teacher for 20 years and watched that transition. But I will tell you, in the trades, and you know, that's what we're speaking to tonight, people will judge your work on a daily basis on jobs. And if you're not doing something to the standard that is required, they have to, by definition, they have to tell you that what you're doing wrong and this is what you need to do it successfully. And we work really hard to make sure that that criticism is constructive. But if you're the type of person who struggles with taking constructive criticism, you have to learn how to take constructive criticism. And as a person who struggled with that, you know, when I was much younger, that held me back earlier in my life because I felt like I was being attacked. Well, I learned the hard way that if I could not take that criticism, then doors would be closed on me. So you actually open doors when you accept criticism, thank the person for their feedback, and then take that information and grow from that. And we do that within our apprenticeship. So that would be probably one of the biggest pieces of advice that I could give to anyone is learn how to take constructive criticism. And the people that criticize you are the people who care about you. The people who do not criticize you and allow you to continue to make the same mistakes over and over again, whether it's with a trade or in the way that you communicate with other people, those are the folks that really probably don't have your best interest in mind. Take that constructive criticism and learn from it.
There we go. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Zivin. Appreciate you guys. Great responses. All right, we're going to actually bounce back to Jennifer real quick. Jennifer, you still with us?
Yes, I'm still here.
Awesome. So the question for you is, how has the pandemic impacted traditional transition activities, and how have organizations such as the Bridges adapted?
Yeah, I think we've all probably had to make several adjustments to our services. Traditionally, all of our services at Bridges were completed in person. And we have a really strong focus on building close relationships. We work closely with schools, we work closely with employers, and we work very closely with our students, often one-on-one. And students would often come to our office to meet with us, or we would travel out to convenient locations in their communities. But obviously during the pandemic, we've had to change things. So now we're working in a remote format. So we have individual and group meetings with our students on Zoom. And this has definitely been a new way of doing things for everyone. And it's had its challenges, but I think it's also had, in some ways, there's been some benefits to working with them virtually. So one thing is the students don't have to commute to us. So we've been able to kind of work with some students who may not be travel trained or may have to take public transportation. So it's been a little bit easier for them to join our meetings. We've also been able to be flexible with our meeting times, and we've been able to join Zoom classrooms pretty easily. So it looks a little bit different in that sense, but we're still kind of doing those same things that we were doing before. And before the pandemic, we would take students on job site tours and take them on job shadowing experiences, but that's not possible right now. So we've had managers join our Zoom meetings to talk to students. We've also started using a platform called Virtual Job Shadow, which is a really great program to check out. It has hundreds of videos on there that are professionally produced, and they show different job shadowing videos and videos that give career advice. And it helps expose students to a variety of career paths and opportunities. Even if it's through the computer, it's still a way for them to see those different people at work and kind of get advice through that platform. And we've also been able to use the opportunity of still meeting with students to cover COVID safety resources and share tips and information with students. And this has especially been important for some of our students are still looking for jobs. So we've been able to make sure we cover the COVID safety resources with them and make sure that they're taking all of the precautions that they need to. And so some of our students have even been on virtual interviews. So it's kind of given us a new opportunity to teach different professional skills to students, like joining an online meeting or interviewing virtually. So even though the virtual format has brought on challenges, at the same time, it's created some new opportunities for our students, and we're still thankful that we're still able to connect with them and work with them on platforms like Zoom.
Thank you, Jennifer. All right, we're gonna switch directions a little bit. Chris, are you here with us today?
Yes, sir. How are you doing, Elon? Good evening.
Good to see you, Chris. God bless.
Good.
Appreciate you.
God bless you and everyone here. Good evening, everyone. My name is Christopher Hope. I am a certified technology specialist within the Pro AV world. That's audio and video integration. I'm the co-founder and executive director of the Loop Lab. We are a Cambridge-based nonprofit dedicated to empowering young adults of color into the audio video industry. Essentially, my background is in workforce development as well as audio video technology. My mother, Renee Hope, rest in peace, she used to be an intern at NBC Studios in Atlanta, Georgia, where I'm from, and was on her path to be a camera woman. Unfortunately, as you can imagine, for a woman of color in the early 90s, that was a very difficult thing. More than unfortunately, the only woman of color in the entire building. And she really struggled. And lo and behold, she ultimately chose not to, go in that path because of the enormity of challenges and aggressions and microaggressions she experienced as a woman of color. From that, it just left a huge mark on my life. And since she's passed, I thought about the trajectory of her life had she really pursued her life's goal, her life's dream, and how different my entire family would be. And so fast forward, me teaming up with Moses Michelle, who's our other co-founder, and many community agents in Cambridge, really got together in the midst of several unsolved murders. And in addition to that, really seeing what we could do to try to empower people, not just in Cambridge, but also beyond, specifically addressing 18 to 26-year-olds. Essentially, we've taken the need for urban youth to have a creative outlet in media and in music, and then created a holistic program that works to empower them to become more self-effective in their personal and professional lives, and really connects them to real education and work pipelines that then can create opportunities for them that are sustainable. Our practice is rooted in empowering women and people of color in the media arts industry and audio video technology industries to really develop their skills through job training and job placement in Greater Boston. As a BIPOC-led organization and a multiracial organization, we're committed to ending inequality and racism through digital storytelling. And we do this and address this vast underrepresentation of women in BIPOC communities several ways. Our trademark and flagship program is a professional media arts program for young adults of color, 18 to 26 years old. And that is an opportunity for young adults to get 6 months of free training in audio, video production, small business skills, financial education, as well as life skills. So some of the things that my colleagues have communicated about, for example, doing virtual interviews, being able to be in positions where you're networking, doing public speaking, creating a presentation. Those are skills, as well as what it's like to be a W-9 contractor, because many in the media world work as W-9 contractors. So our workforce approach to workforce development is unique in that we do teach a little bit of entrepreneurship, how to get clients as a contractor, as a consultant, in addition to some of the more traditional pathways into workforce development. The second programming that we have is high school programming, 13 to 18-year-olds. This is a completely virtual programming that we do with the cities of Boston and the cities of Cambridge with their respective Department of Workforce Developments. And that's an opportunity to really create an exploratory experience for high school students that are interested and maybe may not know that you can have a really great career in media and also in AV. And the third program that we'll be launching this year is more STEM related. It's kind of more in my own personal sector, which is the pro AV industry, going into audio video design, audio video installation, broadcasting, which, as you can imagine with COVID-19, is a huge skill to be able to do now that folks are not necessarily comfortable or as safe doing in-person events. And that is in conjunction with the Executive Office of Labor and Workforce through the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. We are one of the only sites in the entire Commonwealth that's specific to media arts and AV as an apprenticeship site. And we will be launching that this year. Our 3 outcomes for students is 1, entrepreneurship. We really, as I said, we train around being what it's like to be a W-9 employee. They get into the taxation aspect of that, as well as what it's like to, in essence, build up your client list, how to engage clients, as well as de-escalation of certain situations that could come up in that situation. Third piece is employment. So obviously, as a workforce program, we want to see BIPOC communities and BIPOC people get paid. And the way we do that is we have paid internships, apprenticeships, but we also work with companies like Audible, Amazon, as well as WBUR, which is the national public radio station here in Boston, to really secure long-term job and employment, as well as other municipalities and organizations that hire many of our alumni. The third piece that is integral as far as an outcome for us is higher education. We think that higher ed, obviously being in the Boston area, is a largely viable pathway for many of our young adults. Many of our young adults already come in with some kind of college experience, whether through Bunker Hill, Roxbury Community College. And in the midst of that, they are able to earn college credit in our program. And so we have 2 partnerships. One is a partnership with Benjamin Franklin Institute of Technology. Huge shout out to them. And through that opportunity, our students have the option to enroll to dual enrollment, which would be free for them for up to 1 year. In addition to that, that'll be going towards an associate's degree specifically in audio video integration careers. And what's amazing about that is that completing our program accounts for 11 college courses worth of credit. A second program, or rather programmatic higher ed collaboration that we have is with Leslie's School of Art and Design at the Lesley University. And through that partnership, Completing our program for our students accounts for 30 college courses worth of credit, and certain alumni are eligible for full scholarships, which we currently have 2 alum that have that have benefited from that relationship. So with education, entrepreneurship, employment, we really work to try to empower young adults and youth in the city, mostly young people of color, to see the opportunity in the industry. And to sustain our practice, we operate on the side a media production studio that creates content, video content for other clients and partner organizations. So we work with the Boston Foundation, the Barr Foundation, Cambridge Community Foundation. We work with other nonprofits like the Powell Arts Center, the Isabella Gardner Museum. And we really are able to put our young adults and our apprentices in spaces where they can do video documentation of the work that is happening in these places, as well as that 3 to 5 minute website video that your organization may need in order to promote and advertise itself. So that's a really huge gist of all that we do. I could go on and on because the work is very comprehensive. It addresses soft skills as much as it does quote unquote hard skills, but it's very much rooted in community organizing, and really doing work with having boots on the ground at every turn. So I'm just really honored to be here with my colleagues, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Chris. Very familiar with the Loop Lab over the last couple of years, so appreciate the work that you've done in Cambridge, especially in the port, and we're gonna just continue to rise. So thank you. All right, so next we have another question for Zivin. You still with us?
Right here.
There we go. All right. So what type of training and opportunities are offered during the 4-year Carpenter's Apprenticeship program, as well as similar programs outside of Massachusetts?
Awesome. Thank you, Elon. So our curriculum is viable in all throughout the United States and Canada. I have a slide. If Megan, you can hear me somewhere out there, Oz. Awesome. I have it should be slide number 10, I believe, one back. Excellent. So as I said, our curriculum extends all across the United States as well as Canada. Here in the North Atlantic States region, we represent all of the New England states as well as New York State. And during our apprenticeship, we offer a variety of skills, whether they be the hard trade skills or the leadership and personal and professional development skills. We really believe in sort of empowering the entire individual. You're only as good as your skills if you can go out into the field and communicate with individuals and actually get the work done. You could be the best tradesperson out there, but if you don't have those other leadership type skills, they're virtually worthless out in the field. So during our apprenticeship, we focus on the trade skills. A lot of the foundations and the building blocks will come at the beginning of an apprenticeship in the form of safety classes, how to use tools ergonomically correctly, so on and so forth. And then you build upon those skills throughout your apprenticeship. You might learn some layout and some more intricate projects. And then finally, as you graduate our program, we will certify you in whatever trade avenue you end up undertaking. We'll give you certification so that once you graduate our apprenticeship and you are a journey person out in the field, you have the confidence in your trade skills to go out and perform and command the hefty, healthy wage that affords us such a great quality of life in the trades. And then we also have the professional development side of things. We provide all sorts of leadership skills training, foreman training to our apprentices. We also have our flagship Maine International Training Center out in Las Vegas. That's a huge campus where people from across the carpentry trades, Canada, as well as the United States come to the ITC out there in Las Vegas. It's a great opportunity to train, collaborate, speak with other types of people who might be involved in the trade and just do things a little bit differently based on their geographical location, demographics, things like that. And then post-apprenticeship, we have, as I mentioned earlier, what we call our skill enhancement, which is essentially, it will fill in those gaps. Maybe you didn't receive a certification that you are on a job for and you would like some training. We'll provide you that training. Maybe a contractor has a job coming up that's requires a very specific skill set, and you want to be involved in that project, you have that opportunity through our skill enhancement program to really gain and build upon the skills through that you established in apprenticeship. And then we also have a partnership with Wentworth Institute of Technology here in the city of Boston. We will also give you some credit for completing our apprenticeship program through Wentworth, and we also have scholarship, tuition opportunities for individuals that want to go on and continue their education through Wentworth. So training is really what separates us from the non-union sector of any type of construction. So to command the wage out on our job sites, we really need to be presenting the best, most thoughtful, confident, well-trained individuals, both professionally and trade-wise, out on our job sites. So Tom, I'll hand it over to you if you want to add.
Sure. I think it's important to know about the Carpenters Union is that virtually all of the positions in our union started out with an apprenticeship. I went through an apprenticeship many, many years ago. Zibin also went through an apprenticeship. All of our instructors went through the program. All of our leaders went through the program. So there are many doors that open up. When Zibin mentioned the articulation agreement with Wentworth Institute of Technology, you can actually start that program as soon as you get into the apprenticeship program. So for those of you that are motivated, that are willing to work all day and go to school at night and on weekends, Wentworth actually sets up the training for people that are working in the trade. So you might take 1 or 2 classes virtually in the evenings, and a couple Saturdays per month. You might go into the facility, into Wentworth in Boston, and take a lab class, could be a physics class. And in an ideal world, after 4 years of your apprenticeship, while working, while making a living, while getting a reduced rate on your tuition, you have an associate's degree in project management or construction management, and the connections within the United Brotherhood of Carpenters that you can go to work for contractors that that you may have worked for with your tool belt on. So if you're passionate about building things, there's many opportunities that become available, and you may not even know what those opportunities are right now. Certainly Zibin and I think I can speak for Zibin, we had no idea that we would get into the education part of this organization. We just wanted to go to work and become carpenters and pile drivers and divers. Yeah. But the organization sees and shows you that there are other paths within. So there's definitely a ladder there, and it's and your goals change as you get older, and it's just good to know that those opportunities are there for you within this organization.
Oh yeah. Thank you guys. Thank you both. All right. Our panelists have touched upon a lot of things that need to happen during the high school years to prepare for work. We're going to shift a little bit. Eileen, I was wondering if you were still with us.
Well, hello. Yeah. Oh, I sure am. I'm just blown away by what I'm hearing. This is just so awesome. Amazing. And I'm from the Mass Rehab Commission, and I have the honor of working with some of the people here from some of the schools, Seaport and Bridges. And the thing about Mass Rehab is that can you hear me? Okay. Okay. Yep. Well,
Eileen, your microphone is muted, so I'm asking you to unmute. There you go.
Sorry about
Great.
that.
No worries.
Oh yeah, there we go.
If you back up just a sentence or so.
Okay, here we go. So the Mass Rehab Commission is an agency in Massachusetts, but every state in America has such an agency, and it's 100 years old. It was born out of the first act, I guess, was around 1920 to help the returning vets connect with the world of work and belong in the world again. And from there it's grown, and we have the American Disabilities Act in the early 70s. And in, I think it was 2014, I think it was President Obama that put forth this WEO, which is where the pre-ETS program was born. And now we go into the high schools, age 14 years and up. And we're vocational agencies. There's other aspects to Mass Rehab and these agencies, but I represent Voc Rehab, which is the work component. And so there's other kinds of pre-ETS programs like Bridges, and every high school supposedly in America pretty much is assigned a counselor, a VR counselor. So that's how I came to know some people at Seaport and some of the other high schools that I cover in the Boston area. So anywhere you live, any high school you go, there should be a pre-ETS program, and that works alongside whatever's going on in the high schools, because there's incredible stuff already taking place in the high schools. So we're just there to augment and collaborate. And so I kind of catch the students when they're, this is the tough part that we're talking about, when they're transitioning out of high schools. So anyone with a disability through an entire lifespan can access what Mass Rehab Commission and the like in each state. You only need to have a vulnerability or disability to qualify for services. And I have a lot to say about that, but I'm just going to give you some directions that students can go when they get connected to Mass Rehab. And if they get connected to us, their senior years of high school, junior, senior years, that's just meeting them at that point in time. And, whatever, and just what some other people were talking about, it is an interplay of having life experiences and work experiences and trainings and trial and error and all the stuff of life that builds the character, that builds the soft skills, that builds the stuff we need, when man meets world, so we can, kind of grow up and meet world. And it takes, it takes a little bit of doing. And so Mass Rehab is a kind of clearinghouse to help with, like, sort of coin out some of the supports that a person may need. And so I just thought I would briefly give some of those things. If a person, for instance, is going into college, they can pick anything they want, that seems that they feel suited for. I have on my caseload people studying global studies, environmental studies, architecture, someone at the School of Architecture, and we can help if there's financial need with financial aid and other kinds of things. There's certificates programs, that culinary, home health. We have in-house job-driven trainings. We can help people with customer service. There's a sort of a human service training that we have in for high school grads, drug and alcohol counseling as well. And that's just a smattering of things. And then we have, just depends on who a person is at that point in time, and they're going to have a whole life ahead of them. But so we do a thing called an individually written rehabilitation plan. So everything is geared specific to that individual. There's a thing called informed choice. So they're very much empowered and part of the process, and we try to just give them the information they need. We can help them discern some of the directions and steps they want to take. So we have a thing called CIES. We have vendors kind of similar to Bridges, but after high school. And through these vendors, we can also help with further engagement and exploration of careers, some interim trainings. We have one vendor, for instance, who does culinary and maintenance work, and then help with interim trainings and readiness for work. And then we help with job placement as well. So those are some of the things and services that we can provide. There's a big network out there, of other kinds of supports, and whether it be therapeutic or AANE for the spectrum, try to encourage people to, when they make that leap from high school, just to access all the supports they can. And there was just, I kind of really liked what people were talking about, because we do take a kind of holistic approach. When people come to us and consider what are the life's concerns, or is the situation more of an immediate situation? Are they able to, go forward with college and training? So there's a kind of big picture that's involved, and there's a little bit of inner work. I think what the carpenters were alluding to, where you kind of want to have a sense of yourself and what your niche might be in the world. And so I think it's I like to always say this because it sounds a little bit corny, but I like to refer to Deepak Chopra's 7 spiritual laws of success, because it encompasses a lot of this. You want to have a sense of potentiality, like what is going on here tonight is possibility. The world is still happening. Whatever is being thrown at us, the world is still going on. There's still a place for all of us, and it takes a little bit of doing just to kind of wiggle our way in there. And also to know how can we give, the law of giving, when we come from that place of service. And that can really kind of help to nurture that. And I've seen that happening in some of the schools that I visit, where students are participating in cleaning and cooking and other kinds of things. Also, the law of like karma, in that, just to kind of maybe see, look inward and see, well, gee, why did that happen? Maybe there's a little bit of cause and effect. Maybe why did I make my boss mad? Why did I get fired from that situation? And we call those things soft skills. Try to kind of work on those things. And I'm still working on those things myself. These are all lifelong learning processes. And the law of desire, also what was alluded to here, in a way we have to want it,
Thank you.
to be a will.
Eileen?
Oh, too much?
Yeah, no, we only have a couple minutes left, so I want to take a chance to make sure that we get the questions from the audience.
Okay, and that's it. And then the law of detachment, that's the last one, where you know that you are already enough. When you finding a workplace and a place in the world, you need to know that, you have value anyway. And then, and then the next step is finding that place in the world. So that's what Mass Rehab does.
All right, Eileen, thank you. Thank you so much. All right, so let's get a couple questions from the chat. Denise, do you have any other questions?
Yes, I do. One was a bit alluded to, but people didn't have an opportunity to speak to it very much. But how do you work with a student who has unrealistic thinking about the future? I'm going to be rich. I'm going to be a rich entrepreneur. I have people who will do blah, blah, blah for me, like take care of my math, my typing. So basically, it's like, how do you deal with magical thinking? Whoever wants to kind of run with that. I know you said a bit about it, Tom, but if you want to say more, if others do. We've got about 6 minutes. So
I think, listen, magical thinking is great. It really is. I mean, it's great to have dreams, and nobody would suggest that you should not have dreams. But ultimately, when you look at what leads to success, I mean, find mentors. I mean, we're not going to say what works and what doesn't work. Find people that do what you think you want to do, and find out how they got there. If they, you may find that they really didn't get any skills other than knowing how to put a good team together. You may find that they actually were very good at what they did, and now people who do what they did. If you take it to the NBA right now, most NBA coaches were high performing NBA players, so they're able to relate to their team. They didn't just coach players and there's no sense of understanding what their players going through. Not every business is like that. So I just the only advice there is find someone who does what you want to do and talk to them, meet them, become friends with them. You'd be unbelievably surprised at how many people will respond to you if you reach out and say, and introduce yourself and say to them, how did you, if you don't mind, if I could ask you, how did you get to where you are? And most of your questions will be answered if you take that approach. And maybe the magical approach is the correct approach, but the only way to find out is to talk to people who are actually doing it on a daily basis.
Thank you.
I want-
Alex, I don't know if you would want to say anything about that, with the young men that you're working with.
Yeah, excuse me. We get a lot of that at Seaport, and I'll be quick. It's a process that takes some time, and it's certainly and sort of across the board. Educational, clinical, transitional. My suggestion is have a plan B. You can have magic. I mean, magical think there is a place for that, and there's a place for magical thinking, and I'm trying to get really wrap your brain around it and to really get behind what that magical thinking is all about. But it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just have a plan B, right? And then what ends up happening, and I've had students do that, and as they work through whatever they're working through, and as they work towards graduation, they come to realize, oh, okay, thanks for the plan B.
I have another question. What general transition / life skills programs are operating in person in the Boston area? And keep in mind, there are folks who are not, who are on the Zoominar who aren't from Boston, but so maybe whoever answers this could speak a bit about what's in Boston and maybe some things that they know that are outside of Boston. I mean, for instance, I know Bridges certainly has programs outside of the Boston area, and as do as the Carpenters Union. Does anybody want to take that one?
Certainly, I can speak to our programs outside of the Boston area. We train in Yalesville, Connecticut, Manchester, New Hampshire, various locations around upstate New York, which I will spare you from, Dorchester, right in downtown Boston, and then we also have our large main training facility out in Millbury, Massachusetts. So we're working really hard to have individuals train and work and live where they live instead of having to travel all over the place. We recognize that that's often sort of a hindrance in people in joining our program, is if they live in Boston but then have to travel to Connecticut to train, but they're working up in New Hampshire. That doesn't make sense. So we're really trying to spread our wings and get people training closer to home. So yeah, we have plenty of opportunity all throughout New England. And then, as I mentioned, we also do have other training facilities in New York as well as Las Vegas and other smaller satellite locations. We are a massive, large organization, but those are the most relevant locally here to this area.
And then for Bridges, in Massachusetts, we only have the Boston location, but we're in several other cities. So we're in Atlanta, Baltimore, Chicago, Dallas, LA, New York, Oakland, San Francisco, Philly, and DC. But for Massachusetts, we're only in the Boston area.
Another question. Someone had asked about virtual job shadowing, and I believe they were asking it of Bridges, but perhaps folks could talk about, I don't know if any of you are able to talk about kind of how people learn about programs that allow the students to do job shadowing. I know it's a great opportunity, having done it myself.
Yeah, we've been using virtual job shadow with Bridges. We did have to pay to use that. There's a subscription fee, but I know a lot of other it's called PREETS. It's funding through MRC. So a lot of other providers in the Boston area I know have access to that program. So it's free for any participants in the program. And then I saw in the chat too, it looked like other school districts are purchasing it too. So as long as I think the program that you're working with or the school that you're with has access to it, then it should be free for the students.
I know we're really close to time. If I can, do we have time for one more question? Or,
There's actually, Denise, there's a question about a high school diploma and being a carpenter and math. I can't let that one go.
Please.
Well, first of all, we are a federally approved apprenticeship program. So to get into the apprenticeship, you need one of the three following qualifications. You either need a high school diploma, a GED or high set, or 1,500 hours of experience in the field in the field of carpentry. So I would suggest to anyone who was listening or who has the ear or ears of young people that want to become carpenters, that a high school diploma is critical. And math is critical, especially in the area of geometry. Every building is built with the basics of the Pythagorean theorem. It's right angle geometry, whether it's a roof, a wall, structures. Every class that we teach involves math, but in a hands-on manner. And I've always said this to educators and my colleagues when I was in high school, is that if you can take math and make it real, then students, suddenly that disability goes away, because you're not looking at numbers on a piece of paper. You're looking at lines on a floor that becomes a wall, that becomes a ceiling, that becomes a roof. So you really, in our program, and in actually any trade, any union trade, whether it's electrician, plumber, a high school diploma or a equivalency is a requirement, and you would put yourself at a severe disadvantage by not having that high school diploma. It's really important for young people to hear.
Thank you. Thank you. We do have a couple more questions. I will hand it back to Elon, though, and folks who might want to be able to stay for maybe another 5 or 10 minutes. We can get to some of the other questions, but let me hand it back to Elon.
All right. Nope, that's a great way to end the presentation on an official manner. We'll hang out if anyone wants to stay and chat with our experts directly for a little while. But please, just want to thank you guys. And before you sign off, please take a few minutes to fill out our brief evaluation. We plan to offer a virtual transition fair next fall and want to get your feedback as we plan on a larger multi-channel event. And as I said, sign up for the SFC special events list. The sign up information should be in the chat. And thank you all so much for your questions and joining us. Stay safe, and we will see you guys soon.
Thank you. So should we, for those folks who are able to stay, we could, I do have, as I say, I have some more questions. One of the questions that had come up was someone asked, said their son has a documented disability in a small private school, and how can he get referred to MRC?
That's why I thought I'd just hang back for that a little bit.
Thank you.
So every area of Massachusetts has a local Mass Rehab Commission, and they can just call. They can call the main Mass Rehab number, or I could, I have a list of all the different offices throughout the state. But anybody can call and apply for Mass Rehab, and definitely if his school doesn't have an assigned counselor who can help them along, they can reach out themselves to Mass Rehab and apply.
I think we can, one of the things that had come up, I think you did speak to this, Jennifer. Somebody had wanted more info about your particular program. And I think that you did kind of cover that. So I don't know if folks have any other questions before we wrap up. We'd be glad to to answer any. I know our folks have said some of them. I know some people are leaving. They need to leave right now at 8, but a little after 8. But a couple of folks I know said they could hang back a little bit. If anybody else, if there were any other questions before we call it a night. If not, I think that we will thank everybody so much for coming. Thank you. Some of you,
Thank you.
Here for the three sessions. And as Elon had said, we certainly plan next year to do kind of a bigger transition fair kind of thing online. So we definitely ask you to, it's in the chat now. If you'd like to be part of our special events, sign up. And we will make sure you're on the list and you know what's going on for this larger event next year. With the idea is to have breakout sessions with potential career folks, with Eileen, who is a marvelous resource, and other folks like Eileen. Certainly people who are interested in some of the colleges will be at this fair. So definitely want to make sure that we've got your information. And then again, reiterating what Elon said, please get us your evaluation. I will be sending out over the next couple of days, just a quick note to everybody. It will have some links to information that you're going to need. And want to make sure that if anybody, you've got my information. If you don't receive something in the next couple of days, please feel free to email me and make sure that that you get that information. So thank you. As other folks have said, stay safe and stay in touch. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
It's awesome.
Great job, everybody.
All right.
Denise, I believe Rita had a quick question.
Yeah, I was sending her a quick. Oh, I can. If you're still on, Rita. I was just saying, yes. Certainly, the idea next year is that the transition fair will be, we'll have a broader geographical reach. We'll have broader geographical reach. This. Some of the information tonight was designed so that it would be useful to folks outside of the area, but a lot of it was indeed more local. But we do intend to continue this work, and we for instance, at the college one, we had someone on from California, so we will indeed make sure that we get you information. And if you're in touch, you will get some of that information by going to our website. There's more on transition. Not all of it is, specific to New England, to Greater Boston or New England. So I would ask you to make sure when you get the email from me, check out the website for some of that more generalized information. Okay. All right. Take care. And thank you, Rita, for the question.